Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Band-Maid album review. So, as you can see, we are both wearing our Band-Maid t-shirts. So today we are kind of like a thank you, shall we say, for Band-Maid winning the competition, which you, the Band-Maid fans, voted for. So yeah, as well as buying the merchandise, we also wanted to do this album review. So let's share the screen so you'll be able to see what the album is. So one second. Okie dokie. There we go. Share screen. Okay. So, Stephen Chigwidden said, I asked him if he could recommend an album. He said, honestly, I can't because they are all good. They're really talented. I guess I would say New Beginning simply because of the nostalgia and the fact that even their earliest songs remain as popular as ever and still more than hold their own on the monthly Spotify list of most played Band-Maid songs. Yeah, so that's the one we are going for. So I'm going to, again, share the screen in a second to show you the album on Wikipedia, which has a little explanation of it. So here we go. So New Beginning is the second mini album released by Band-Maid. So it goes on to say it's been described as hard rock and heavy metal, and the band's sound has been compared to the likes of Disturbed, Lenny Kravitz, and Skunk Anansi. Are you familiar with those three?
Lenny Kravitz, yeah. Disturbed, maybe. I think they do a version of The Sounds of Silence, if it's the same band I'm thinking of, which I really like. Yeah, that's it, really.
Okay, yeah. I've never heard of Disturbed. Lenny Kravitz is very famous, but I'm not overly familiar with his stuff. Skunk Anansi I've heard of as well, but don't know too much about them. So, okay. So we can't really compare them to them too much, but the album itself, as it said at the top there, it is a mini album, so it's only 32 minutes 47 seconds long. Got 9 songs on there. None of the songs on here are ones that we've reacted to. I don't recognize any of them, and I think for me what's going to be interesting, yes, we've listened to obviously reacted to Band-Maid before, a number of their different songs, but what tends to happen is we react to a song, a Band-Maid song, and then we won't react to another one until like maybe 3 or 4 weeks later. And I guess what happens is you kind of don't really get to know them too well when you do it like that, because you can't remember the last song. when we react to a new song, we can't remember what the previous song was like. Whereas with this, it's all kind of all in one. We're going to get a really good feel for Band-Maid, and kind of really, get to hear what they're all about, or at least based on this one album. What about you, Brett? You looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm big. So I say we have the stuff we have listened to. We have quite. Well, no, I have quite enjoyed some of it there. So as you said, there, be quite interesting. Now, whether work in our favour or against us in terms of hearing all their songs sort of back to back. But I said the good thing is that we will get to hear, because I said, as you said, we don't react to them straight away all the time. So yeah, it'd be interesting to take on there. So it'd be interesting in getting some of the back catalogue songs that maybe regular stuff that we don't get to hear. So let's see what surprise we might get in store for that.
Yeah. How's your long sleeve t-shirt? Snug fit?
It's a right fit, actually. It's not too bad. Yeah. I mean, with my white walls, I'm surprised you could only just see my head and just Band-Maid logo, really.
Okay, so we're going to head off and listen to the album, and we will be back with you guys very shortly in a few seconds. So we've now listened to New Beginning by Band-Maid. We're still wearing our Band-Maid t-shirts. Well, Brett's still wearing his long sleeve t-shirt / sweater. How do we normally do this? I've forgotten. So I think I normally ask you, what you thought of it.
Yeah.
So what did you think
Kind of a bit of a tradition, to me. Me going first on this one, but that's fine. We can still go with that. Right, I'll start with maybe get the negatives done, and just maybe hopefully get them out of the way. Concentrate on the rest of the album. So this album, I found that there wasn't much sort of variation to it. A lot of the songs were very similar. And to be honest, I think that's generally the only real negative I kind of really had for this album. It's unusual because normally a lot of these album reviews most of the time it's bands we've not known or not heard of. We didn't know a lot of stuff. Obviously, we've listened to quite a bit of Band-Maid, so we kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into for this one. But I actually didn't find it, even though there was not that much variation, it's not sort of style music. I found I quite like this album. I actually preferred listening to this than some of their live stuff. And I don't know why. I don't know, just something about it. It didn't feel too, I'm going to use our favourite words here quite a bit. At times, it didn't feel too rocky or too intense. There were elements of it, but I think it could have been a lot more than that. There was no growling, which I also like from a rock / metal album. And even though it wasn't in English, bar a couple of tracks towards the end a little bit, it didn't really matter too much. Because even with generally main sort of heavy metal, heavy rock songs, we generally can't understand when it's in English anyway. So it was a short album. So, yeah, but yeah, I was surprised by, I didn't find myself running too bad towards by the end of the album. I say it probably was just maybe missing a tiny bit of variation in some regards, but overall, I actually didn't mind listening to it. I found it quite all right.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm probably the same kind of overall opinion as yours, in the sense of what you just said there. You didn't mind listening to it. It was actually all right. I'd go along with that. However, a bit like the last album we did, Weezer, I think I've got to that opinion in a different way to you. I want to just go over some notes that I made here. So, Band-Maid are a lot more metally. I'm not sure that's the correct word, if there's such a word as metally, but a lot more metally than I thought they were, which I'll talk about as we go through each song. So I remember very clearly that when we were introduced to the band from a comment, I think it was from our what's that Japanese metal band called? The name's
Love Bites.
Also Love Bites. Sorry, yeah. So I think this was a comment from on one of our Love Bites videos, saying that we should check out Band-Maid because they're a rock band. They're not metal. I mean, it's something along. Vividly remember something along those lines. However, listening to this album, or at least parts of it, there was definitely quite a lot of metal in there. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but there was definitely some metal in there. And I remember looking on the Wikipedia page as well for the album. It did say that it is hard rock / metal. I know they kind of cross over a bit, to be fair. They're not like completely different genres, hard rock and metal. But it still, I don't want to say it surprised me, because obviously I saw what it said on Wikipedia, but it was a little bit more metally than I originally thought Band-Maid were. But overall, what I'm going to say here is I didn't like the first 3 songs because I thought they were far too metally for me, and I was like, oh, I really hope the whole album's not going to be like this, and it wasn't. So unlike you, I would say this album did have variation, but like I said, overall, probably have the same opinion as you. That actually
it wasn't a bad album. I quite like listening to it on the whole, if that makes sense. So let's go through each song. So the first one was Thrill. And yeah, it had this kind of, as I mentioned earlier, this heavy metal feel to it. But I just felt the singing could be from like a pop song. I was quite enjoying the singing part, but the instrumentals and the singing just didn't seem to quite go together. It was like, I can't explain it. It's like the real proper heavy metal instrumentals, but the sort of the way, the sort of the cute, I don't want to say cute singing voice, but the sort of, just the singing voice didn't seem to fit with the instrumentals, if that makes sense. I thought the instrumentals without the singing were fine, even though it's not really my cup of tea, that particular style of music, sort of heavy metal, but I still felt on its own, it worked. I felt the song felt a little bit jumpy. I don't know if it was something wrong with my system or whatever, but something a bit weird about it. Almost kind of like a faulty kind of scratch CD. I think it was just the style of the song. So yeah, I didn't particularly like this one, to be honest, overall.
Yeah, totally get the point you're sort of making there. So when I also say, they're quite similar, there's very little variation, it's pretty what I'm about to say now, and it'll be the same for most of the songs come along. You sort of have the intro bit, and it's either quite rocky or quite heavy metal based, and then suddenly you have the singing come in, and it doesn't quite match up. It doesn't. It doesn't. It almost, as you said, feel quite poppy in a way. But that's what I quite like. So I quite like the singing in it. I get what you're saying where it didn't quite match and fit in, but for me, it did kind of work. And I said it made me enjoy the song more because you had the sort of singing. Because like I said, it kind of brought it to be less intense or less too rocky at the time. And that's why I felt with a lot of the songs, it had that same sort of feel to it. Like I said, it feels like it's going to be really, imagine you hear that intro and you think, if you didn't know Band-Maid, you're suddenly going to get this growling or really, and then suddenly you don't. You get, I forget the name now, I wrote it down, didn't I? Suki, her voice singing. And this is why I've sort of preferred the CD, the sort of the studio or the album stuff rather than live, because I feel like you can hear and appreciate her voice a bit more, I felt. Not that you can't when it's live one, I don't know, just because obviously it's been produced, so you can get a sort of balance from there. But yeah, I really quite like the singing in this, even though I do agree what you're saying doesn't quite fit and it sort of doesn't quite work in some regards. But for me, that's why I kind of like it, made me enjoy it some more because you had that sort of singing and chorus, almost like pop-like sort of chorus bit from there, really. So yeah, I didn't actually mind this one. It's not one of my favourites on the album. They do come a bit later on, but I thought it was all right.
Okay, so the second one was called Freezer. Again, this is a regular theme, and like you mentioned it just now, every song pretty much starts off with gets straight into it, doesn't it? Instrumental. So the hard rock / metal start. Again, I quite like the singing part. I thought that it was quite a catchy chorus, which is, what I like. Again, I'm just not sure if the hard rock / metal is needed. I understand that's going to be a controversial comment because that's kind of who they are. But the rock I understand, I guess, but it felt a little bit too hard, too much metal going on. Again, it just didn't seem to quite go together with the singing voice and the style. But it was a good catchy chorus. I think I probably preferred this one a little bit more maybe than the first song.
Yeah, I put it as very similar as the first one. If anything, though, I think it felt a bit more rocky, heavy metal-y than the previous one. But again, the singing comes along and it gives just sort of that different sort of twist onto it. Like I said, almost like a pop song, and so you feel like there's a proper chorus. Because generally, when I normally hear when we listen to some other, heavy metal, heavy rock, you don't really feel like you get like a pop chorus. But this, the kind of feel you did. And then when you felt like the singing wasn't going on, you then had your sort of emphasis on the music bit, the instrumental bit with the guitar work, getting to bring it back to it, and then the singing back into it. So yeah, like I said, I think very similar to the first one, just a bit more intense in places, but still, again, just felt as an all right song. And again, we should say a lot of these ones aren't that long either. Again, normally we find most heavy metal or heavy rock is normally quite long songs, but these ones are like pop song length, really.
Okay. The third song was Real Existence. This was a very heavy metal start. And interestingly, I wasn't so keen on the vocals on this one. There was some fast singing going on. However, I do think it fits the style of song better because the singing itself didn't have that kind of pop feel to it, if that makes sense. So even though I like the singing less, I still think it worked better as a song overall because it was that kind of very metal kind of sound to it. So I think it needed that kind of metally, I don't know, how can I explain it? That kind of style of singing that kind of fitted the style a bit more. So I didn't like the song, but just think it worked a bit better, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, kind of. I haven't got a lot sort of in this one because again, I found it was quite similar to the ones before. Again, we had this sort of really rocky metal star. The singing comes on, and I vaguely do remember, yeah, the singing did feel a bit different in comparison to the other ones. But as I said, overall, I still didn't mind it and sort of gave it a good towards there. And then again, we had some good sort of guitar work. So as I say, there's opportunity where the singing, you can hear the singing being played, and then chance for the sort of guitar and instrumental bits to be played and listened to as well.
Right. So then things for me personally took a turn here for the better. So the fourth song, Price of Pride, it was back to the kind of more what I would calling sort of more pop kind of singing. But this one, unlike the first three, wasn't metally. And I was right. I wrote down this is better. It's a rock song without all of the heaviness. So, for what I remember, it's kind of quite similar kind of style to say the first two, but just the instrumentals weren't. It wasn't metal this time. It was rock. So I definitely preferred this one. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Let's hope it continues along this trend, which it does, which obviously we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I think I may know, but I do remember it did feel kind of different, even though it's kind of sort of same in terms of heavy metal sounds. Remember, yeah, great. There was sort of less metal with that. So again, we had the same sort of rocky start, and then the singing comes in there. What I've found with this one, which I like, to be different, that it had more of the actually other band members singing in this one. We could hear them do bits more in this, and we heard them a bit later on as well. Whilst previously, the only thing you could really hear was Zuki's, but this one, you felt like the other members singing along in this one here. So yeah, definitely. I think this is almost like sort of halfway through the album and still being listenable. But yeah, you're right. This is where it does sort of change ever so slightly as we go through the rest of the songs.
So song number 5 was Arcadia Girl. This one had like a kind of real sort of nice beat to it. Initially, it kind of sounded like a sort of electronic sounding voice, I thought. And it felt sort of a bit jazzed up. Then it had a sort of very sort of hard rock chorus. I just thought there was lots of different elements to this song. So quite a lot going on, but in a good way, with different parts to it. And definitely one of the better songs on the album for sure.
Yeah, I put a little smiley face next to this one. It's the first one done it so far. Yeah, I definitely feel a little bit, even though it's still got that same sort of thing, rocky start, sing comes in, and it changes the vibe of the song. And yeah, he's right. This is also where he had the voice was very quite electronic, dancey almost in a way. But yeah, I really enjoyed the singing, the voice sort of effects on this one here. Again, it felt like it could have been like a pop chart song potentially. You have a bit of sort of the chorus stuff from there. So yeah, so my favourite one so far.
Then we had Don't Apply the Brake. So we had a rocky instrumental start, which is nothing new. I quite like this one. I thought it had a good upbeat sort of singing style. Definitely rocky, not metal. Like in the chorus, it just builds up really well. I like the sort of the instrumentals, the rock instrumentals in between the singing. And yeah, best song so far for me.
Yeah, I found this one quite similar to the track before the last one, Price and Paid one. So again, you felt like if this was one, I felt like you had more of the members sort of singing this one here. Same as Soul Stars, it has been there before. So yeah, again, quite like this one. I still feel I preferred Arcadia Girl over this one. But yeah, I said it's quite similar to the one before that, where it felt like more of the band members singing. Again, just a nice one to sort of listen to through, actually.
Then we had Beauty and the Beast. This one really sort of took me by surprise. It's almost like a kind of rap style, a very different style to the others. I sort of put a question mark here. Is that a different singer? And I guess, like you said, it's sort of different band members that are involved. I'd say it's probably not my overall favourite, but I was just really enjoying listening to it. It's like another side to Band-Maid that I didn't know they had in their locker. And again, interesting instrumentals in between the singing. So yeah, that was a decent one. That.
Yeah, so I put I like this one. Maybe just for the reason that it was that little bit different as well. I'm not saying it was probably the best song on there, but I liked it because it was a bit different. And I could tell it did sound from strange. It wasn't until because I obviously try not to do any sort of research beforehand, so I want to kind of listen to it as it is. And it wasn't until I went back and it turns out, yeah, so this is where it's Muku's actually singing, is the lead singer on this one. And you can definitely hear the difference in the voice when you know that's definitely a different singer. And yeah, it was almost like rapping. I put here speed singing, so it wasn't quite like rap, but it was like sort of fast singing. And I thought, I wonder if Lee actually likes this one because it's almost like kind of like sort of rap singing with pop and rock kind of thing. But yeah, so this to me would be sort of the experimental song in some regards, even though technically it follows the same. So you've got your rock star, the singing comes in, feels very different. But yeah, it just had that sort of different vibe to it. So I liked it in those regards, yeah.
Okay. Then we had Don't Let Me Down. So this was a hard rock start. Surprise, surprise. Liking the chorus. Not overly keen on instrumentals. I just felt it was a little bit too intense. Had to get that in at some point. It's got this. It's a weird one. It had a sort of strange hey part. So someone saying hey with a man saying it. I don't know if it was like sampling something. But I just really liked the "Don't Let Me Down" chorus part. I just thought it was really good, and that for me kind of made the song. So yeah, I did like it, but there were parts of it that maybe I wasn't quite so keen on. But the chorus was really, really good. Probably the best chorus out of all of the songs on the album, actually.
Yeah, I actually didn't put a lot on this one here. I just said we've sort of gone back to even though the other songs were quite similar, it's gone back to the original ways it was there before. But I'm still sort of enjoying and quite listening to it through there. And I agree, yeah, this sort of had the most sort of catchy chorus. And I think maybe it's because maybe this is when the chorus was being sung in English. And I forgot to say about the previous song as well, Beauty and the Beast. I think bits of that was done in English as well. But this one as well, maybe that's why I found that the chorus was sort of the best bit from there. But yeah, that said, it's similar to the other ones there, or a song, but yeah, it had a bit of English in this one here.
Okay. So the last song was Shake That. Let's mix things up a little bit. I've done this before. What do you think? What did you think of Shake That, the last song?
Oh, you've really thrown it on there. Right, I'll be honest with this one here. I kind of set myself up to probably not end up liking this in the end because I was kind of hoping it might have been something completely different. I thought maybe we might get like a softer side to Band-Maids. That was just me sort of hoping, even though, you know, I hadn't got sick of the album by track A, even though it's been quite the same. But part of me was thinking, I wonder if they're going to do like a nice sort of slow. But it didn't. It was pretty much the same as all the others. So there wasn't really a lot to say. same style, but again, I found myself sort of enjoying the song, even though I've already heard 8 tracks previous, absolutely the same, of this one here, and that's what I've really sort of finished. I said it's an all right song. I just kind of deep down wish maybe this was like a slow end, or maybe something even at the end of this song to, because they have done some slower stuff, haven't they? And they've done a bit more sort of ballad like. So that's how I set myself up to fail, hoping that was going to be there. And it literally just, I think it was one of the shorter songs on there, sort of had it and it just ended, and that was the end of the album. So not that I was, pleased or disappointed at it, it just felt a bit abrupt.
Okay, so yeah, for me, I'll be honest, I didn't like it. I put down usual heavy rock start, quite shouty style of singing, so I just didn't like it. I don't like that sort of aggressive, I don't want to say aggressive, but that sort of shouty style of singing. I think it kind of does work, like in rock music in general, but it doesn't work for me. So yeah, I don't have much to say on it, but it was a disappointing end. So for me, I didn't like the first 3 songs. I didn't like the last song, but I quite liked the other 5 in between. So yeah, more songs that I liked than disliked, shall we say. So yeah, overall, if we're going to sum up, I agree with you to a point, to an extent. I get what you're saying about how there wasn't much variety, how it was all kind of the same, in the sense of, yes, we had that kind of straight into the instrumentals, then we had the singing that came. But saying that, I still think there was variety. Like I said, the first 3 songs were very, for me, a lot more metally than the other songs. I don't know if you noticed that or not. You said you did. So for me, that's showing a bit of variety, at least in the instrumentals, the singing as well. Okay, there was the one song, was it Beauty and the Beast, I think it was, where we had another band member being the lead singer. So yeah, get what you're saying in that sense. However, I still felt there was some sort of variety to an extent. And yeah, the album grew on me. Shame about the ending. Didn't like the last song, but certainly up until that point, I was like, okay, you know what, this isn't bad. I think as well, like with us, when we've been doing the reactions, we've been trying to, because of the comments that have been trying to help us directors to maybe Band-Maid songs that we would like, which are basically the less rocky, the kind of the more mellow songs. So we have been doing a lot of that. So yeah, it was good to listen to this sort of stuff as well, as I guess this is probably what Band-Maid really are about. This is sort of their bread and butter, should we say? So yeah, it was an eye opener. It was an interesting album to listen to, for sure. What about you, Brett? What did you think of it?
Yeah, so like I said, with the not so much variation, and quite I think I was probably focusing more on the sense of that same style, intense starts, singing comes in, changes up there. That's what I remember before. But I do agree there is that sort of slight because it does change as we get sort of that middle part of the album. So I do agree with a lot of you saying there. Yeah, it was a shame just about with the ending of the album. But like I said, for this genre, which isn't our sort of thing, and which is also, didn't have many sort of standout songs, as an album, I did quite, I did enjoy listening to it. Or it sounds really negative way of saying it. I didn't get bored of it or sick of it. By the end of it, for this type of music, where I felt it was quite the same. So that's a real big sort of compliment I can probably give it in those regards. And I said there were a couple of standout songs that I would put onto a playlist. And I do like their take on this genre as well. I said it's not the same as what we've generally hearing. It is a little bit different. So yeah, I said overall really good. I said just me, it was just that one ballad slow type song for me to make it even better than an album than it was. But for what it is, yeah, listen, I've enjoyed listening to it all the way through.
Good to hear it. So that's it from us. If you've got any more album requests, be it Band-Maid or anyone else, then please do not hesitate to send your requests in, because we're seriously lacking in the album requests department. And yeah, let us know what you thought of our reaction down below. Not reaction, our album review. We are brutally honest. At the end of the day, it's just our opinions. There's no right or wrong, I don't think. So yeah, let us know what you think, and look forward to seeing you again for the next album review soon. Band-Maid. Peace.